Lawwin Media Network.
Bringing to you the most relevant content across all platforms.
Business, legal, politics, health, lifestyle, and entertainment.
Your source for all the news and updates in the greater Houston community from Texas and all over the world.
Get informed and empowered with Lawwin Media Network.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Philippines. I think it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning there in the Philippines. And good evening, Texas, and from Texas to the East Coast, and from Texas to the West Coast. Good evening, everyone. This is Beyond Health and Wellness, and with me is MJ, she's out tonight, so I'll be by myself. My name is Dr. Rich, and I'm your main host in this podcast for tonight. We will be talking about different things. Make sure you share your link to this so that other people can also join in and participate in your chat. If you have any questions, any testimonies, anything to say about our topic that we will cover today, we will talk about that, and we are going to acknowledge your presence as well. And for tonight's episode, we will continue with the topic that we left off from last time. This program is aired every Friday, 8 o'clock Texas time or CST, and 9 o'clock in Manila time. And that is every Friday. So we're happy to be here, and we also acknowledge our guests. We're glad that you're here with us. Stay with us, and we are going to talk about a lot of things that impact our day-to-day life and personal improvement. Again, this is Beyond Health and Wellness. These are empowering conversations with Dr. Rich and Nurse MJ. Tonight, we are going to take off from a discussion where we left off tonight, and in a few moments we will share some slides with you so that you can have a visual of some of the things that we want to emphasize here. The first thing that we want to talk about is sugar. The last time we talked about sugar was the last episode, which every episode I believe we mentioned sugar. And now we're going to share about sugar. And there are different kinds of names of sugar, as we can see in the slides. These are types of sugar, and there are different kinds of them. And let's go through them one by one real quick, and then we will jump into the next one. Make sure if you have some comments, if you have some questions, put it in the chat box or in the streaming messenger, and we will take note of that. The first type that we're really wanting to know without their chemical complex names is the obvious sugar. An obvious sugar is there is that word sugar in it, or they taste sugar, which is sweetness. So there is part of our taste buds that are discriminatory to the sweet taste, and that will tell us that that is obviously sugar. It comes from a processed sugar, such as the sweet taste of it, and the labels will tell us. For example, ice cream, candy, or you have cookies, you have cakes, you have beverages that have sugar in them. You are sweetened beverages. You have syrups and jams and baking sugar and corn syrups. Those are obvious. You know that that's sugar. And then the other one was sneaky. It looks like it's healthy. It sounds like it's healthy, but they add sugar in it. So the goal is to remove as much added sugar from the food that we ingest into our body. So we have what we call as the sneaky sugar. They're often hidden in food products and they are marketed to be healthy. For example, you have the yogurt. The yogurt there is supposed to be healthy, probiotics and all that. But then there is an added sugar and it's in huge amounts or huge quantities. You have also the granola, you have the energy bars, smoothies, in fact, even salad dressings that we use in our day-to-day salad. Vegetables supposed to be healthy, then you put salad dressings into it. The salad dressing is the one that contains enormous amount of sugar. You eat the most of the food, like 99% of the types of food that we eat on a daily basis, have sugar in it already built in. And then we add sugar into it. That's when it complicates things, including your there's that familiar drink we call the kombucha. It's supposed to be from plant juice from plants, but really it also has a lot of sugar in it added into the product. So I'd like for you to take note on that. And the last one, no, not the last one, but the pre-sugar. The pre-sugar is not necessarily a sugar that tastes sweet, but it is converted to glucose and therefore it is sugar. So glucose is your sugar, and your body will, whatever that food is, your body will convert that into glucose almost immediately. So that's your simple sugar, like your bread, pasta, cereals, crackers, your pretzels, puffs, anything with flour, your potato products. In fact, that includes rice as well, I would say. So those are your free sugar, and then you have your fruit sugar. Our fruit these days are grown to be sweet, and so there's a lot of fruit products that are sweet. So there's enormous amount of sweetness in that uh, fruit. So they are called fruit sugar. They they have fiber in them, so that's why we want them. But it's the sugar that is. If you already have fruit and then you add some more sugar in it, then that's really going to whack up your sugar level. Okay, including for the low sugar fruit, your berries, your melons, and your citrus. This is very common in our kitchen. And then you have the high sugar, like the tropical fruits, like your mangoes and your grapes as well. They have lots, enormous amounts of sugar. So we want to avoid that. And our brains will not necessarily avoid that automatically because we talk about that in our program. But there are ways, and we're going to talk about that. Now, from sugar, turning that into cooking oils, we're going to talk about different kinds of oils. Now, Asian cooking is very difficult to cook without oil. Everybody agrees with me, right? Not not many Asian kitchen cooks without oil. So, but no oil is safe. No oil is good. All those oils are not good for our body, not because of what they are, but because of the content that they bring along. So we'll talk about because the oil there has was processed or extracted, then it contains omega 6 already. And most of the oils, the sources of oils have omega 6 in high quantities, and there's less omega 3. And the ratio, really, the ideal ratio for omega 6, omega 3 is supposed to be 1:1. Or, in fact, in our case, even if it's 4:1, that would be very good. Four omega 6 and one omega 3. However, our oil today contains more omega 6, not 5, not 6, not 7, but quantities of 20, 30, and above. So that's really, really high. And let me tell you, omega 6 is an omega 3 ratio, which should be 1:1 or 4:1 if you think about it. But really what it is because we're trying to balance inflammatory effect and anti-inflammatory effect. so that it balances. We need the inflammatory effect because we want to know if there's something wrong. That's a symptom in our body. If there is something wrong, it gets inflamed. That's how we know, right? That's one of the things or signs that we know. So we need that, but we don't need so much of that on a constant, consistent basis at an enormous level of inflammation, right? So, but in order to counter that, we need the anti-inflammatory. So when there is we're inflamed, we need the anti-inflammatory, and that is provided by omega-3. So it's a balance. Now there are different kinds of omega, right? The nutrients in the food that we ingest. There are omega-7, omega-9, omega-6. But then you have those kinds. They are naturally available in in good amount of quantity, but they don't contribute significant imbalances in our body and our body's mechanism. Only omega-6 and omega-3, so they need to be balanced, and that's why we're talking, because we're talking about oil here. Now I think that the next slide will show us something interesting there, and that is the omega ratio. And the omega ratio is 1:1, but the walnuts, as you can see, is 5:1. Now I'm going to show you a table here that will discuss all of these ratios, and that's where it is. And you can take a screenshot of that so that you can use that as basis for googling or searching out there to see what really that one is, and you can check it for yourselves. And what that one is that the the first row, the first column right here is the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio, and then you have the what do you call this thing? It is the smoke point. So there is a smoke point in degrees Fahrenheit and in degrees centigrade. So all our oils have smoke points in them. It is very important uh, to be aware of the smoke points, because when you have that smoke, when it starts to smoke, it's too late for that. When the oil starts to smoke, it starts developing toxins. Okay, when it starts developing toxins, that toxins don't go away. It stays there because it's in the oil. So you cook that with toxins, and the more the boiling the smoke point is reached constantly, the more toxins that are developed there. Okay, in fact there is a concept that when you reuse your oil, the more is reused, the more toxin it is, which is 10 times more than the first time. And the boiling or the smoking point goes lower. So it goes lower, so that means it easily makes more toxins, and it accumulates there in the oil. When it accumulates there in the oil, so there is more than the allowed toxicity that is bioavailable in the oil product. And you can see in your fast food industry, we cook or fry a lot, cook in deep fry, right? Many times over and over. So the oil is boiling. It's not smoking because you add chemicals to it to make it stop smoking, which we call as the malonaldehyde. The malonaldehyde is what we call as the carcinogen, which is the cancer causing content that is in oil, and it gets accumulated. So that's what it is. And then we are going to talk about a lot of things based on this. When you reuse your uh, oil, when we reuse your oil, you increase the bioavailability of malondialdehyde, which is a carcinogen. That is, carcinogen means it's causing cancer, and cancer is an abnormal growth and division of our cells in our body. That's how we develop cancer. So we'll continue to talk about that. We'll be right back after a quick break. Stay with us. This is Beyond Health and Wellness. This is your host, Dr. Rich.
In a world cluttered with information, where truth is power, Law and Weekly News stands apart.
We delve deeper, uncover facts, and bring stories to light. From political showdowns and economic triumphs to the pulse of the street and the heart of the community,
We capture the moments that define us, stories that challenge, inspire, and transform.
tune in live Sundays 8 a.m. Central Standard Time and Sundays
We're back. This is John Rich, and we are in Beyond Health and Wellness, empowering conversations with Dr. Rich and Nurse MJ. Nurse MJ is out today, and I'm by myself. But feel free to jump in and join and make some comments or messages there, and we will acknowledge you, and we will also address some of the questions uh, that you will put in there. Now let's talk about we mentioned that we will reuse the oil. It contains melanoidaldehyde, that's a carcinogen that is present, and it increases the more we reuse the oil. And so we shouldn't be reusing that oil, right? And so the next one, we are going to show you some more information about this in the next slide, and that will be in connection with our fast food oil and what we add into the fast food. We go into our fast food with fried chicken, right? And we wonder, well, all their fried chicken are perfectly cooked. They're all golden brown. None of them were overcooked. None of them were charcoal. None like that. And then you go home and you cook your fried chicken in your kitchen, and you left it, you posted something on Facebook, or you opened your scroll in your social media, you forgot your chicken frying in there. What happens? It gets burned, right? It's charcoal, it goes dark. Okay, so because your oil there has no additive of what we call as the tert-butylene. A tert-butylene is actually an anti-foaming agent, and it is also used as a preservative. But not only that, it is used preserve in your bathroom. You go to the bathroom, right? And you go to your shower, and you see those in the corners of your bathroom showers. There is that white thing that seals the corners of your tiles. That is a caulking agent. So that's what we call as the tert-butylene. It's a caulking agent, and we also use that in our oil. Now, the FDA says that it is harmful if swallowed. Now, I don't know if you swallow the food that is cooked with additives of tert-butylene, the caulking agent in your bathroom, but you certainly eat it. So there's no denying it. It's hard for me to believe that you didn't swallow it, because the caution there in this kind of chemical is that it is harmful if swallowed. Now, I'd like my food to just stay, the usual food content that it has when I swallow them, and I'd like the caulking agent to stay in the bathroom, and that's where it is. But you can see that in the fast food there are those additives, so they don't foam. There's anti-foaming. They don't make your fried chicken overcooked or French fries dark and charcoal, and it don't bubble, and then it also don't turn rancid. When you go home and you recook using your oil that you used before, turns rancid, right? And the reason for that is there are food particles and food debris that are left in that oil, and when you use that oil, those food, and you said, okay, so we killed the bacteria. You did kill the bacteria when you boiled, when you heat that oil again, you did kill the bacteria. And then the bacteria, but the bacteria gets, it's the bacteria that gets toxins out. And when the bacteria gets toxins out, then you kill the bacteria, the toxins are still there. And what we call that chemical toxin is we don't call that this one these days anymore. It's called the Clostridium botulinum, right? It's very difficult to say, Clostridium botulinum. And the most common is, you're very aware, the most common name we use that now, we use that for aesthetics and cosmetics. It is called Botox, right? A Botox. So it's just small quantity. You put that somewhere, you inject somewhere, the corner of your eye, you get the Botox, right? And what it does is it paralyzes the nerves, and it's good because aesthetically it gives good results. But really, what it calls is that it only takes 4 kilograms of this chemical. Only takes 4 kilograms of this chemical called botulinum clostridium to kill the entire population of the world. That's how it is. But since what we inject in our body is very, very tiny, then you don't die out of it. You just paralyze the nerve. That means that that nerve dies and it doesn't work anymore. So you stay bright, you stay younger and all of that. But that is really the chemical called Clostridium botulinum. All right, so let's move on from your fast food. Let's talk about safety guidelines for your oils. And there is no, for the European Union, the limit for erucic acid that is present in your oil, especially your canola oil. There is the erucic acid there, and is 5%. It has to be lower than 5%. And then your cottonseed oil, which is have the gossipol in it. The gossipol in it is the oil that you use for your engines in your car, right? That's the gossipol. But if it's very small quantity that is coming from your cottonseed oil, then it's okay. But it's really not okay because it's accumulated in the body. Okay, when it's accumulated in the body and it goes beyond, there's no more measurement. The next time you are being measured is when you get in, you graduate into what was it, then you have a cyst, a tumor, a cancer for that matter. And then there's a different route of treating and addressing that issue. So that's what it is. It's very safe, but it's when it's not safe. But when do you say it's not safe anymore? When it's already ingested in your body. So the next information that we will talk about after making sure that you have those kinds of awareness about what kinds of oils to use. We recommend these oils. There are the macadamia oil. This is a seed oil. Now, remember, when we say this, we say that there is no good oil. All the oils are not good. But since it's difficult for us to cook without oil, especially in Asian cooking, in Asian kitchen, we use oil. So we might want to use the lesser amount of additives in it, and the closer to the ratio of omega-3 and omega-6, which is 1:1. And the one that meets that is macadamia oil, and it's in a specialty oil. So you want to look in the specialty oils. You can see macadamia oil. That's what you use. It's a little expensive because it's very close to 1:1, right? The one that you have very common is the canola oil, and we talk about canola oil. Canola oil is about 1:1 or 4:1. So it's also very low in terms of ratio for omega-6 and omega-3. And the reason why the the omega-6 there is lower is because they add something into it, which is what we call as the erucic acid. Erucic acid is available in your canola oil, and erucic acid is very uh, toxic, right? So you have to lower that number. When you lower the number or the percentage of availability of the erucic acid in the oil, it lowers the omega-6 as well. So that's why your canola oil is lower. And then what is this erucic oil? Erucic acid. Erucic acid in canola oil comes from when it was the rapeseed oil. So your canola oil was once a rapeseed oil, and your rapeseed oil is genetically modified to become the canola oil, and so that they can get rid of the erucic acid. So but there's still, because it is a genetic modification from the rapeseed oil, which has the erucic acid, then the canola oil still has the erucic acid. Plus, we talk about the hexane that is in as a solvent into the processing of the oil. There is that hexane as well, which is very, very carcinogenic. Now, what you're seeing in the screen is that there is this combination of the macadamia oil at 1:1 and the perilla seed oil as 1:4. You want to add perilla oil in the macadamia oil because the macadamia oils 1:1 ratio is unstable, which means that there is in its ring, there's movement there that's looking for something that will bind it. So you might as well bind it with something that is also in the same amount or ratio of omega-6 and 3. So you have the perilla oil. So you look for this perilla oil and macadamia oil, and that's our recommendation. Okay, this is not the best one because there's no best oil there, but you can just look for it. Now, of course, you'll be talking about avocado oil. You have the extra virgin, what's the other one? Olive oil, and then you have the coconut. You can definitely use those oils, but make sure that you use them in moderation. The next slide is showing us what our recommendations, as well as how we use those oils. Use them in moderation. That is where it is. It turns to the next slide. That's where it is. Use oil sparingly. Don't use a lot, okay? And then store it properly in freshness. There are oil that when you use even in room temperature, they turn solid, and that should be one of the properties of the oil. That's okay. If you want to refrigerate it and you notice that it turns into brownish discoloration, it's just because of the components of that oil. But really what it is make sure that you use it sparingly. There we go. Now that is being very clear now, okay? We will talk about that some more as we move forward into our discussion here. We will go back and forth with sugar, oils, carcinogens, and toxins. But really where we're going with this is to move into the idea that all of these things can only be controlled. Obesity, heart diseases, cancer can only be controlled by the person that's in there. No one can tell us what to do. We are the only person that can tell ourselves and do what we tell ourselves so that we can get what we want. That's really what it is. But we'll continue to talk about this once we return from our commercial break. Once again, this is Beyond Health and Wellness. This is your host, Dr. Rich. We'll be right back.
In a world filled with fleeting moments, there's beauty waiting to be captured. My name is Christian, and I specialize in immortalizing your most precious memories, from elegant weddings to vibrant events and timeless portraits. I'm here to make every moment unforgettable. Let me tell your story through the lens. Contact me today and let's create magic together.
Are you ready for engaging conversations on education, teaching strategies, trends in the classroom.
Tune in to Teacher Talk, Live Chikahan, with your hosts, Teacher Cora and Dr. Claire.
In each episode, we'll dive into meaningful discussions, share insights, and connect with fellow educators.
Don't miss out on the fun and camaraderie. Grab your coffee and join us for some lively Chikahan. Every Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Philippines.
Now we're back. This is Beyond Health and Wellness. I'm your host, Dr. Rich. MJ is not with me today, and she'll be back for our next episode. So we talk about those cooking oils, and we talk about overcoming and avoiding them, and overcoming the ingestion of added sugar at enormous amounts of quantities in our daily food. So just we want to make sure, what are we doing here? What we're doing is we are doing to reduce all those things, because it contributes to the development of cancer, and for that matter, cancer tumor cells and cysts. And then we move into obesity. You have all different kinds of heart diseases and all of that. So there was one question that triggered me to think and share about the comparison or relationship between butter and margarine. So your butter is really naturally drawn from your milk fat, right? And that's your butter. And your margarine is hydrogenated process. And I think that's where we're going with that, because when you say hydrogenated, so you process it and it just hydrogen in it. When you put hydrogen on it, then you call it hydrogenated vegetable. The hydrogenation is the one that it's making it unsafe, because there's hydrogen, right? When there's hydrogen, you're creating a free radical. When there's a free radical, that means that it is open to, or it's inviting, it's free. So it's inviting another partner to make it whole. And that means that any virus or bacteria out there that attacks our body 24 hours a day is having an access to our system because of a free radical that's circulating in the cell, brought about by an oil that we use that is hydrogenated vegetable oil. So what does that mean is that, for example, for margarine that we see in the supermarkets, in the groceries, is that the process of hydrogenating vegetable oil and turn it into margarine is that it creates a trans fat. And a trans fat, compared to other kinds of fat, a trans fat is the one that increases the risk of heart disease brought about by it raising bad cholesterol. So when you see in your blood test or in your laboratory test, when you have your checkup, you will see LDL there. That's low density lipoprotein, and we commonly call it as bad cholesterol. So when there is an increase above normal of the low density lipoprotein or your bad cholesterol, then there is a higher risk for you with heart disease. And what margarine does is it produces that trans fat that increases the bad cholesterol and lowers the good cholesterol. The good cholesterol in your laboratory test is what we call as the high density lipoprotein, which is HDL. You look at your lab test and you see HDL, that's your good cholesterol, and it has to be high. When it is high, that means it's able to protect your body from uh, especially your blood vessels, from turning into being rigid, right? So that it will not atherosclerotic, it will not harden. It's pliable so that your circulation will keep flowing. If it's not flowing, it's probably blocked by your LDL, which is your bad cholesterol. So that's what your margarine is compared to your butter. And your butter is saturated fat. And we're not saying that it's good and it's bad. It's just that there are studies that says that your butter is saturated fats, but also there are studies that your saturated fats are in the butter is actually overcome by the contents, other contents of your saturated fat brought about by your butter because of the vitamins that are in it. So the idea is moderation. Okay, so that's where we are with your margarine and your butter. Now, let's go to how do we overcome all of this, because we're talking about cancer. And we have this message here from May de Vera. Let's talk about May de Vera. She says, I feel like nothing is safe to eat anymore. I know, right? It's like everything out there is unsafe. Well, really, we will talk about that because there is some facts in it. Uh, but I still ate a lot of oily food. Cheat day since it was my birthday. Oh, yes. Happy birthday, May. Yes, there is a lot of that thought that, well, what's safe in there, and really, one is the, what do you call this, the um I lost the word, but one is the idea that all these things that we eat is actually explained to us better by the newer science called the science of nutritional immunology. So we'll talk about that in the near future also. Eileen here, Eileen Dizon says, watching this while cooking. Thank you for this very useful information, Dr. Is. Yes, thank you, Eileen, for staying, for being with us. It's really true. So you don't want you to wait your cooking oil to reach the smoking point before you start cooking. Okay. When you put your oil, make sure your oil that you're using for cooking, when you're cooking it with high heat, this is what we call as low heat, medium heat, and high heat. I don't lump them that way, but in I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not a dietitian, but there is what they call high heat, low heat, medium heat. I don't call it that way, okay? I call it heat because they're all the same. Because you never know. Oh, I'm just cooking it with low heat. Oh, I'm just cooking it with. How do you know it's low heat when it's already boiling, right? So you really don't want that. Now, your oil has, what do you call this? Not boiling point, smoking point for your oil. You want to put your oil there if you want. You want to put your oil there and don't wait for it to smoke before you cook, because when it smokes, it's already late. It already turned into toxins and it stays there. You don't want to use that. You want to put your oil, but you use your oil that has a um, very high smoke point. So even if it's already hot, it's not reaching the smoke point, so you can cook, right? Let's say your olive oil has a very low smoking point. You don't want to use that because it's low. It reaches immediately before you can cook. It's already smoked. And so you don't want to have, like, the coconut oil, for example, has very high. The problem with coconut oil has very high smoke point. The problem with coconut oil, and it's fine if that's what you just want. But the thing about coconut oil is that coconut oil has no omega-6 or omega-3 ratio. For that matter, there's nothing like that. So it doesn't contribute to wellness and health to your body when you use coconut oil for cooking. It's true that it has high smoke point and you already cooking, but it's not reached its smoke point yet, and you can cook. And the other part of that is that your coconut oil is saturated fats, and when it is saturated fats, it's the carrier of different kinds of diseases, inflammatory for that matter, which includes then you have that obesity, you have high cholesterol, and when that is high cholesterol, then you're looking at conditions of the heart. So we don't really want that. So use in moderation and make sure that you're aware. Advice for high cholesterol individuals. That's from Orlando. High cholesterol individuals. There's a lot of people right now that has high cholesterol, right? When they go to their doctor and get tested, cholesterol is high. There's when the cholesterol is already high, there's nothing you can do anymore. You got to get rid of that, right? And to get rid of that is not to scrape your arteries and veins. You can have your medicine, that's going to be medication. So that's professional practice, right? It's not going to be done in your kitchen anymore or in the grocery. It's already, you go to the doctor and, hey, what do I take? And so the doctor will prescribe you medications to lower the cholesterol. And what those medications do is to soften your arteries and blood vessels so that the cholesterol will be parched and it will be taken off and drained so that it goes away. The thing is, then that's invasive, right? Well, it's not as invasive as you go out there and cut, but it's really something that is foreign from your body, that is chemically processed, is going into. And the purpose of that is to break down your cholesterol buildup. And when the cholesterol, you don't know where it is, so it's random, right? All the blood vessels, but not all the blood vessels have those cholesterol buildups. So it just goes everywhere. And there are side effects for that. And all medications have side effects. May says, my dad drinks pure calamansi juice every day. The downside, his BUN is low. There is a downside when you have. So again, we talk about, thanks, May. Again, we talk about taking things in moderation. Okay, anything in excess will really damage us. So when you have those much of those calamansi juice, actually calamansi juice is very good, and I drink them too. And sometimes it's the lemon juice that I drink every day, including apple cider vinegar. It's very good, but you don't want to drink one pitcher of them, one bowl of this, and it's getting to your body. So your BN, which is May says the BN is so affected. Urine is uh, what do you think? It's in your kidney, so it's the, I forgot what's the BN. We will talk about that. But really what it is that it damages your kidney because it calcifies it, it develops and builds up there. So you don't want that. I would suggest you drink more water to flush it out. Okay, drink more water, hydrate yourselves. We really need 4 liters a day of water. That's what we need. Now, as much as you can, until to the point when you keep going to the bathroom to urinate. That would be a good sign. And you look at the color of your urine. The clearer it is, the better you are. So that means that you are well hydrated because your kidney is working well and excreting those toxins out of your body or exist materials. That's why we can hear the people say, I'm going to drink a glass of water before I eat, or maybe after I eat, I will drink a glass of water and something like that. The point being that you want to keep hydrated so that it goes slowly, and the nutrients that is found in those food that we take are transported by our cells so that it goes in, especially when it's easily turned into sugar, simple sugar. It's very easy, and it's bioavailable right down there. Your pancreas will now secrete your insulin so that it can transport those sugar and gets absorbed into the body so that it could be used as energy. But then if there's so much, so much available sugar that's lurking out there because of the amount of sugar that we ingest. There's a lot of sugar that we ingest. And I read too much in bed is bad. Well, then you have to go to bathroom most often, and you're supposed to be sleeping, right? That's what's bad in it. And so, not don't drink before bedtime. I think about, if you're drinking water, you'll be peeing very soon in less than an hour or two. So you anticipate that, and before that, you don't drink before bedtime anymore as much as you can avoid. Otherwise, you'll be waking up and and you have to drain that because your body keeps doing. That's not because you're sleeping doesn't mean that your body stops working. It continues to work, and it continues to protect our body also. And what's doing that is an immune response. We'll talk about that some more when we get back. Now it's time for us to have our commercial break. This is Beyond Health and Wellness, and this is your host for tonight, Doc Rich. Right now.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Pink Table Talk by Dr. Carly D. Tune in and let's think pink on Wednesday. Come join as we are creating community through conversation. This is our voice. We're diving deep into powerful conversations that inspire, uplift, and empower. Season 2 of Pink Table Talk with Dr. Carly D. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. See you there.
And we are back. We are back. This is Beyond Health and Wellness. I'm today's host, Dr. Rich, and we're talking about cooking oils the last time. So we'll continue with that. But I think there was a question that we need to talk about, and that is drinking too much, right? Water during bedtime is bad, and we are going to make mention that really it's the only bad thing about that is then you will have to pee and drain it because your body continues to process the water that you're drinking and then getting rid of that. It's really a cleansing thing, but however, to avoid that, just not to drink water anymore before bedtime, which is about 1 or 2 hours before bedtime. No more drinking of water. But sometimes it's difficult to avoid that, right? So we'll just have to wake up and go to the bathroom in the middle of our sleep time, and so that will disrupt the circadian rhythm for the night. Now we'll go back to the connection of the oil because I have one question here about the hexane that is really in the content of processed oil. And hexane is a chemical that is added into the fruit or the source of the oil, like the seed or whatever coconut. They put the hexane into it so that it dissolves the oil. So the hexane and the oil comes out together, and then they remove the hexane, and then the oil is left. Now you have the oil. You get that into the bottle. So the question of the process is how much of the hexane that was chemical, which is very toxic, is left in the oil because they're put together, right? The only way that the oil is extracted from its source is when you put that hexane and it extracts it. That's why it's processed that way. It's chemical process and it's refined. When you do that, then you have that hexane in the oil. Now there is a mandate for people who manufactures oil that the hexane has to be low in terms of what's remained there in that oil, and that is lower than 2%. So you have hexane in your oil. When you have oil that is processed, you have hexane there. Hexane is toxic. So wherever you go, if it's processed, there is hexane there, the chemical additives, and but it's very low. Now the question, okay, so it's low, so what's the problem? We'll just have hexane. You really don't want to have, because when it goes into your body, you ingest the oil, right? The hexane is there too. It's very low. It doesn't do anything. It's just very low until the time that it's already high enough, too much for your body to keep low, because you keep having that oil with less than 2% next time, every day, next time less than 2%, less than, until such time that it's more than 2%, but it's in the body. So what can you do? We put you there and distill you so that the hexane will go out from your body, and what remains is you. We can't do that, right? There's no more. There's a different process in order to get rid of that, or what it is. First, that toxin that is ingested, brought about by the oil, then it goes into a cell division we call mitosis. You develop cancer tumor. The body is trying to engulf, trying to put a fence around those toxins and put them together. We call that the tumor. And then it's going there, and then we remove that, right? We remove that from your body through an invasive procedure to get that tumor out. But how much of the toxins that is in your body that's carcinogenic, that is engulfed in that tumor, so that we can take them out together? Then, and there's no guarantee that all of it are in that tumor, right? It grows only there because your immune cells are gathering them together and put them in one area so that it forms a tumor. And then it's there. Then you are going to remove it by incision, invasive procedure. When you remove it, how much of it did you remove? That's the question, right? How much, if you remove that particular tumor, how much is still lurking around in your blood vessels, in your circulatory system that are going, and it's only a matter of time when it develops another one, right? Because we continue to accumulate those toxins in our body. There's no stopping of the toxins. Our immune system is also not stopping to prevent us. That's why it's gathering there. It's gathering. It's gathering. It gives off signs and symptoms. You get fever, you get colds, you get coughing, you get all kinds of pain, so that it gives a signal that something is wrong. And then we put some medication in there, right? Your Tylenol, your ibuprofen, you put it there so that it will subside, and then it's no more. But it doesn't mean that it's gone, right? It's just there. It's just not working because it's paralyzed. And then at a point in time, that's why cancer doesn't develop overnight. I use this cooking oil, I'm fine, and it's been 10 years and all my life. It doesn't develop overnight. You don't get cancer by using cooking oil one night, and it doesn't do like that. It's over years, and you don't even see, was it from the oil, was it from the sugar, was it from the virus, from this and that, or from the abnormality of the cell division in your body. It's a combination of that, and that is why your treatment protocol in a cancer condition involves what you call as the chemotherapy. And the chemotherapy has 50 chances, because it's like a machine gun. It kills everything because it doesn't know where it is anymore. And because it doesn't know where it is, it just kills, and hoping that it kills everything, every single one of them. And when it kills it tries to kill every single one of them, it's likely that it's also killing the good cells. And the good cells are the ones that protecting and trying to get rid of the bad cells. But we also kill them because by the process of chemotherapy. So that's where it is. Okay, that's why we're talking about this right now. And MJ is here. MJ, why don't you jump in? MJ says, great information, Dr. Rich. Yes, so that's where we are. It's kind of like a vicious cycle, and we started from where we started, where the ingestion of these items that are included in the food. And that's why one of you says, well, I feel like it's not safe to eat anything anymore, which has facts in it, because out there you want to be safe, but you don't know which one is safe, which one is good, which one is not good for me. So the thing is moderation, because I couldn't give you an advice that is hard and fast, that this is what you do and you'll be okay, right? And sometimes I tend to say that, take apple cider vinegar and you're never going to be sick anymore. But that's not the way it should, and we shouldn't be doing that, because different kinds of attacks come from different angles, and you never know where you get those attacks. The best thing is to make sure that you prepare yourself, and moderation is important. So now we talk about those oils, talk about those carcinogens and whatever that's available in our food, and we put that one together. What is developing cancer, or the carcinogens that will turn into cancer? What is developing and what is strengthening our immune system, because our immune system is the one that protects us from those attacks from our body. Now, in order to strengthen the immune system, that's where the food is. And nutritional immunology, that's the newer science, probably about only 30 years, but it's about the same science as mathematics. But it's also very concise and very clear about what it needs people to understand, so that they can prevent cancer. So nutritional immunology develops 10 items from which you source the food. Okay. And the food that we should be eating, I do like this. So you look at your teeth. When you look at your teeth are level. For those who are level, you don't have a fang, right? Like the animals that we have. Animals have fangs in the corners of their teeth. Those fangs function because they eat meat, right? They eat meat. It's going to bite that meat. We don't have that, right? So we can't eat those meat from the wild, and we just eat them. We don't do that. We have to make sure that they become like the food that we normally eat. We have to chop them and cook them and all of that, so that then we don't have to use the fang, right? What that tells us is really what our teeth, or the human species, is made up of. It's made up of eating grass, okay? Grass. In other words, plant food, okay? Because our teeth structure, the anatomical structure of our teeth, are like the grass eating animals, like the cows, the goats, and then the Jurassic Park, our big animals, which are our dinosaurs. They don't have teeth that will eat the animals. They have vegetarian teeth like ours. So we should be vegetarian, right, based on our teeth. And we should be living more than 120 years if we eat those kinds of nutrition, because that's how we are designed to be. Now, over the years, we started eating other kinds of food. We started experimenting, because humans love to experiment and explore. We're the only kinds of creatures that explore. And so humans start exploring, and we hear about cannibals, we hear about people hunting, getting those animals and eating them, because we experiment, right? And then now here we are in our modern day. We go to the grocery. We don't hunt to eat that food, although some people go fishing and go hunting, but not necessarily for food, but just some fun or for relaxation. When we really want to go eat good kinds of food that we've determined now, we go to the grocery store, where they are being prepared in such a way that we can eat them. But really what we're designed to eat plant food. So we'll talk about different kinds of practices and culture of eating food. We did that last time, and we're going to talk about that again at some point in time. But right now, I'd like for us to understand that food goes a long way, and the kind of food that we eat will determine. You are what you eat, and we are designed that way. The design of our body is to make sure that we ingest the kind of food that will help our immune system protect us, that will strengthen our immune system, so that our immune system can protect us. But what we do is we eat different kinds of food that, instead of strengthening our immune system, it weakens our immune system, and a weak immune system cannot protect us. Okay, so now, because our immune system is weak, and it cannot protect us 100% of the time, when we get attacks, by which our immune system fails to protect us, we need, where do we go? We need a doctor, because the doctor knows what kind of medicine we will need, which is foreign to our body. We need to ingest that so that it goes in there and find the culprit, and then eradicate that culprit, which is the toxins in our body, the bacteria and viruses that attacks our body, that our immune system is no longer able to protect. It's really a vicious cycle that comes with nutrition, and it is very important that we talk about this because it contributes to the entire well-being. We talk about holistic. You cannot be holistic without making sure that your diet, your food intake is optimal, and that you are able to help protect or strengthen your immune system. Now, we have reached a point where we will end this podcast today, but we will continue to talk about the combination of our holistic approach to nutrition and the well being of our body. What do we do, and how do we contribute? How do we connect this so that it will contribute to our overall success as a person in this life right now? But this has been your host, Dr. Rish, and with me, MJ, Nurse MJ, who is out today, but she will be back in our next week's episode for Beyond Health and Wellness Conversations with Dr. Rich and Nurse MJ. It's been good to be with you today. Thank you for being with us. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Have a good night, everyone.